Nuestro objetivo a futuro sería superar a este pesa roleplay números de jugadores. Hola chicos, ¿cómo estáis? Aquí tenemos un nuevo vídeo. Hoy por fin subo este vídeo, que llevo esperando mucho tiempo en subirlo. Ha sido un trabajo gigantesco, ya que es la entrevista a Regrettable. Sí, he entrevistado a Regrettable y tenéis el vídeo subtitulado al español y con todas las respuestas a unas 20 preguntas más o menos que le habré hecho. Pues disfrutad de esta joya, porque la verdad que no tiene desperdicio. Véanlo hasta el final, os lo recomiendo. Y si no estáis suscritos, suscribiros, que este vídeo ha tardado mucho. Espera. Que ni siquiera sabrás cómo va a funcionar la entrevista. Básicamente son, como dicen, 18 o 17 preguntas que Crono, un developer español, o más que argentino, que me va a traducir las preguntas del español a inglés. Tanto Crono como Regrettable van a dar su opinión. Que obviamente muchísimas gracias a Crono y muchísimas gracias a Regrettable. Tanto vosotros, como las respuestas de Regrettable están en inglés, evidentemente, y las de Crono también, pues están subtituladas al español. Así que leed un poquito, no os despistéis porque si no, no os vais a dar cuenta de lo que me dice. Si no sabéis inglés, y si sabéis, pues no hace falta. El vídeo que veis de fondo es el directo que hice hace unos días del test testing, que lo tendréis por aquí. Y nada, sin más que decir, ya seguid con el vídeo. La primera pregunta, la que tengo que hacer, evidentemente, me lo han preguntado que lo diga. ¿Habéis pensado en meter al 682?
So basically, he's saying if we've thought about putting SCP-682 in the game.
Heard that one before. First of all,
Yeah, a couple times.
it's a very prevalent question people have about the game. I mean, according to our lore, people don't know this, but according to our lore, 682 was coming to the site, so he was going to be in the game, like lore-wise, but he crashed in the outside sort of reality-altered space of the game. So he's not dead per se, but he's missing, and that leaves the possibility of eventually we may consider making him an actual in-game SCP. So,
Yeah, it's
for now unlikely.
Yeah, it's not really planned, but it's like left open. You know, like you never know what we might think we want to do. Yeah.
That's why in the ISD room is they're missing.
Yeah. Exactly why.
Otra pregunta más. ¿Cuál es el SCP
Vale.
que aunque quisierais no vais a poder meter en el juego? ¿Y por qué?
Yeah. So basically, what SCP would we like to put in the game, but we can't, no matter what, for any reason?
Yeah, there's one that it came up a lot. Was the so there's a, I think it's what is this one? It's a big sea creature. It's like a big serpent.
Yeah.
SCP-3000. Yeah, SCP-3000, and the reason you can't put it in the game is, like, according to the story, it's the size of like the entire Pacific Ocean. It's absolutely gigantic. So there's no possibility of it fitting, let alone being like able to access for the site. But we've talked about it before and be like, wow, how about that? How would that be to add in the game, be something interesting? But it's just not plausible. Yeah, SCP-3000.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. On my case, it probably be I'd probably say something like one that's been requested a lot has been Abel's brother, which is Cain, which has like powers to like kill plants around, and he's immortal, something like that. I think he might be interesting, and a lot of people have requested it, but I don't think it'll work very good in the game. So. And also stuff like conceptual SCPs, like things are like too abstract that are interesting to read as an article, but they just wouldn't work well in the game. So yeah.
Bueno, ¿habéis pensado en poner más SCP jugables, como por ejemplo hace bastante tiempo el 457? Y sobre esa pregunta, alguna vez creo que Comerstead ha hablado de la posibilidad de que exista un 999 que sea jugable.
So basically, if we've thought about making more playable SCPs like 457 in the past, and what about the playable 999 that you and Melstead have talked about, basically?
Well, playable SCPs as like a role you can purchase and such, we still kind of want to do that. We never really put it away. It just sort of became like, for the ones that actually sort of were interesting, like 076, it became its own little event, and then for 035 and such, those were just sort of available to people because of like a transformation thing. But for 457 and 999 and such, we do want to eventually allow you to either purchase like a one-time thing to play it like in your server, or maybe eventually add a pass where you can play it from the menu and select different SCPs. 457's on the list, 017, 999. Little debatable about 106 and 096 because they're pretty dangerous and complex. It's kind of difficult to do for a player. But we want to do it. It's not like we've completely forgot it. It's just such low on the list of things we're trying to get improved and remake that it probably won't be around for honestly like a year or so. But eventually we do want to have it.
Eventually, those are paid, but if you mean like playable SCPs, like there are some. We can also like free ones, like for example, in the upcoming update, I think we've announced it already.
Yeah.
For example, the 323 is coming, which is a Wendigo, which is going to be playable and it's going to be in Connex. So yeah, there's that to look forward to.
La última pregunta de este apartado. ¿Habéis considerado rehacer o mejorar algún SCP ya existente en el juego? Porque aunque sea en base al lore, creéis que tiene mucho más potencial. O sea, vosotros normalmente os dedicáis más al lore. Si aún así queréis o pensáis cambiar un SCP para hacerlo más divertido, más jugable, más lo que sea.
So if we ever considered reworking or remaking an SCP to make it better regardless of the lore, basically is the question, like one that is already existing in the game.
So to make it better regardless of the lore, I mean, I think like an example of that would be I guess, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but we are planning to do a pretty large remake of SCP-106 eventually. And there isn't much in lore, like in terms of like the pure document that 106 has, like dimensional wise. So like most of the stuff in the dimension for 106 is taken from the Containment Breach game, which was very influential and has like a lot of interesting things happening. But I think for like a big remake for like a really important SCP, it would probably be 106 that we kind of take potentially some extra steps in like crafting a new dimensional world with extra cool things to do and various little challenges you have to follow to escape. And also potentially like what's the popular one, 3008, the IKEA.
Yeah.
So that one would also be potentially something we'd like to implement, even if having it on the site doesn't really match the sort of story and lore for where it's located, on Earth and whatnot. But I think you have to make some exceptions and change some things to make it playable and accessible for the site we have.
I think as time has gone on, I've also like I always look at the files or at the SCP pages to like use as a reference. But as time has gone on, you start to maybe prioritize gameplay more and just kind of sideline lore a little bit. Like it's still important, but in the end it's a game and the gameplay is like the main focus,
But yeah, it's really nice to hear that actually, because of the IKEA or something I have heard about it. I thought you maybe want to implement things like for 096 because it's very
For 096, I mean, I don't know if the scramble are part of the like original document and such, but yeah, scramble gear is like something that's already sort of, I think, a little departed from the original script and such. I mean, it's tough because you have to try and make it fit in the whole broader system and network of the game.
Yeah.
So you want to try and also try and keep it feel like authentic to what you're basing it off of. So
Yep.
You have to make some concessions to design, but I don't know, we're totally open to doing really anything because the SCP as a license, the SCP, you can do anything with it,
La siguiente categoría, vamos a ir con eso. Van a ser sobre los lores, mecánicas y comunidad. Si tenéis pensado meter algún rol, o sea, un rol nuevo tipo SD, CI, etcétera, que ayude al CI, tipo, ya tenéis al CD, claro que el CD que más o menos ayuda, pero si queréis meter algo más que ataque exact.
Okay, so if we've ever considered making like another role to help CI, like CD can help CI, like another role that's like on that faction.
A new group of interests, is that I'm hearing?
Yeah, but basically like
SCP.
another hostile team.
Right, okay. I mean, so where we've sort of gone with the roles in general is we've tried to play them off each other, so every role has like a counter role or a role that it kind of does a good like sync up with, you know, it has a good matching sort of quality to it. So like security and science sort of cooperate, or MTF and CI sort of fight, that whole thing. So we would really only interested in adding roles that sort of enhance or can, you know, somewhat change up the sort of gameplay that already exists. Our main concern with adding more groups of interests, like there's some examples like Serpent's Hand or Global Occult Coalition or stuff like that. The main concern with adding those ones would be, how is it different from CI? I mean, we're, again, like with a lot of things, we're totally open to eventually adding such things. In fact, it'd probably be good for people to have more diversity and things they can do. But again, we really are more concerned with making sure each role has its own distinct purpose, and it's not like just, oh, it's another chaos, or it's another mobile task force, you know.
Yeah, basically what Bisk said. Also, we kind of want to make it purposeful, like the team to have a purpose. So it's like the game is not like super bloated with teams that are just clones of each other.
Ya que habéis metido misiones diarias en los clases devs, ¿habéis pensado en meteros también en otros roles, por ejemplo CI?
So since we added daily tasks to CD, if we consider adding it to, like, for example, the roles like CI, that's a question.
Yeah, so for the task system, we have set up a whole thing, so it's not just for CDs. We could add it for other roles. The only thing standing in the way is basically like, how much do we want to gamify or encourage certain behavior by rewarding it through a task? And the issue there is like, you know, do you make chaos, like try and have them hunt down O5s, and then, you know, the chaos sort of becomes a hunting assassination thing, or do you sort of encourage, you know, security to kill Class D or something, or somehow track how scientists can do tests? So it's really more of a challenge of deciding what the task would be, and also if it'd be disruptive just to have them present, because it would potentially alter the decision making or gameplay of the site, you know, since people will be doing things they may not normally be doing. But again, we want to eventually add the tasks. That's for certain. I think eventually there will be tasks for every team.
Vosotros, ya que muchas veces escucháis a la comunidad y cambiáis muchas cosas en base a la comunidad, ¿creéis que la mayoría o una gran cantidad de las actualizaciones que hacéis es pedida por la comunidad? Por ejemplo, equilibrar algunas cosas que hay en el juego y todo eso.
So if we think that our community influences a lot of what we do in our updates.
Interesting. Okay. It's interesting you bring this up, because I spent this morning looking through suggestions. Now, we don't normally actually like talk or give our feedback, and a lot of times we just sort of listen and sort of think about it. But you know, I do have a lot of interest in community ideas and feedback regarding things they want or that should be changed. And I think a lot of the time it helps us see past like our own sort of obsession with making very strict, perfect design choices, and kind of lets us see a more creative, you know, and open idea of what things could be like. Like recently I've been looking at stuff about like the Class D riot, or you know, new teams they want added, and I think a lot of those may well end up working into the game, because I mean, they're just good ideas, you know. Just because they come from the community doesn't mean there's anything different or better or worse.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly what he said. Like, just if an idea is good, like it is good regardless of who it comes from. And about the influence the community has on the updates, yeah, I think we all read the feedback channel. We're not like not like all of the time, but yeah, we do occasionally look through it. There's some good stuff, and Yeah, usually after an update, we at least I try to gauge a bit the opinions in the chat, or sometimes I join the game and try to see how people are reacting to things. Because maybe not to necessarily balance or work everything around what the community might want, because sometimes they might not be able to consider every perspective. Like, for example, maybe you're like a CI main and you make a suggestion that benefits CI greatly, but for an FP main, it's just gonna be nightmarish. So yeah, you need to kind of consider every possible perspective. But yeah.
Quería preguntar también una pregunta así medio rara, que vosotros, que os venga a la cabeza, ¿qué es lo más raro, lo más inesperado a la hora de meter una actualización que haya provocado que se haya roto en el sentido de bugueado el juego?
So what's the weirdest thing that we put in an update that just broke the game, that just glitched out completely?
This was a very easy answer. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you were a part of the community or present when we did customization. This is about a year or so ago.
Yeah.
And when we did customization, we had to completely redo the character system, for playing the game. So your little avatar, we had to completely rework how that whole thing worked. And I recall that there was a bunch of issues that completely broke the game. Like, people would be falling through the floor or flying around, or the more they played, the more they would start banging off walls like a rubber man, like a rubber ball,
Yeah.
It was just chaotic. And it's why it took us I think almost 6 months or more to actually finish that update, because the amount of things that broke was absurd.
Yeah, there were so many things.
Yeah, thankfully everything else has been pretty okay.
Yeah, it was on that update, and it also had 6 to 10, which had a couple of issues as well. It was kind of funny because I remember the flamethrowers were a little bit broken. So to test him, I remember Upesu made a line in CDC with people with flamethrowers, told them all to start firing at the same time, and the game just completely died. The server just crashed. It was a mess. But yeah, that is definitely the update that has been the glitchiest so far, for sure.
Yeah, we uploaded that on our YouTube as well. If you
I saw the short.
Our shorts. Yeah. So.
Bueno, otra categoría más, que ya sería la penúltima, que sería sobre las actualizaciones y el desarrollo. Voy a ir con una pregunta, creo que la que más me han pedido que pregunte, porque vamos, es siempre así. El tema de la tardanza en las updates, que tardéis tiempo, o sea, más tiempo de lo que muchos juegos tardarían. ¿Por qué es?
So basically, why do we take so long to update, especially compared to other games?
So the easiest answer is that we have a decent sized team. There's 8 people that work on the game full time, but of those 8 people, there's only really 2 who can program, consistently program the very essential aspects of what is happening with new game systems, or old game systems, and making them better. And in that circumstance, having 2 people work on all of these things, they have to keep track of customization, spawning, items, weapons, truly everything in the game. And we're constantly trying to tweak and adjust almost everything in the game as well. It's essentially we're constantly remaking the entire game every update, and it ends up coming to be a huge hassle and has tons of issues and bugs, because doing these things is so time consuming, because you don't want to release it broken. Essentially. Again, we've had plenty of experience from customization, especially, and having to spend a lot of time fixing issues that come up as a result of making these large changes in a lot of different places that have to be sort of hunted down individually and dealt with, and it takes many hours and sometimes days to properly diagnose and then treat these issues we find. The other thing is, we usually just have a lot of stuff we want to do for each update. It's just there's so much to pack in. We can't possibly do it, even with 8 people. We can't possibly do it in time for every single deadline we try and meet. But we're trying to improve on this.
Yeah.
We've gone from
Yeah.
a yearly update to a half-yearly update to hopefully now every 3 months at least. And we'll see if we get it to be even faster as time goes on and we maybe perfect our workflow a bit more.
No, no.
Yeah, hopefully.
Essentially what we're doing is we're doing parts of what used to be like smaller parts of the major updates. We will release as, more small updates in between, but we're still working toward like very large updates. Like we'll have, particularly the science update is sort of our next sort of customization in terms of, reworking a huge part of the game, and we'll have like a brand new Con 1 and maintenance and such like that. So we're still going to have like these really big updates that are more in depth than the small ones, but we're going to try and pace it out a bit better so we can get out, other content in between these like really large ones.
Yeah, alright.
Yep.
¿Qué es la parte más difícil de desarrollo a la hora de hacer las actualizaciones? Que decir, eso es lo que más tardamos, lo que más nos cuesta.
What's the hardest, most time-consuming part in the development of the updates, basically?
Well, it's the part I usually have no hand in. So what I do is I make environments. So I make the new like Connex or the Connex lift or things like that, like the reality core, or any of the places you stand in on the site. That's sort of my job, and that takes me probably a week or two. Like I have probably the easiest, fastest job on the whole team. The thing that really kills is programming. It's as I mentioned, not just because of the bugs and stuff, but because just the effort and time to sit down and type out how something works and connect it to everything else we've written in the past and make sure it all fits together nicely. It's a much more time-consuming and thorough process than I think really any other part of development.
Perfect.
Yeah. Basically, also there's some things that are more like let's say individual, like you finish a thing and it's done, and there's some other things that you need to like mix many different aspects, like building or scripting and modeling and sounds and animation and all of those things. Sometimes the time it takes to develop all of those, like it adds up a little bit, and you're not always in control of every single step of that. So sometimes you just need to be patient and wait and maybe work on something else. But yeah.
Digamos, o sea, se podría decir así. Si os habéis arrepentido alguna vez de alguna actualización que habéis hecho, directamente sobre remodelar un SCP hasta una actualización entera que creáis que haya sido tipo fallo. Un fallo en muchas comillas.
So if we've ever regretted any update, either anything major in the update or just something like small we've done in the update, like remodeling an SCP or something like that.
Regretted. So it's funny because it would be a very common answer I think in this interview is that we had a lot of problems with customization. So we never really regretted implementing a certain thing. We're pretty proud of most things we complete. Every rebuild and such is pretty, significant, pretty well liked, and we try hard to, make things that we think people like and that we find personally interesting. But in terms of like a specific thing I can name off the top of my head, it was probably regrettable. Would be in customization when we added the whole new armor set because we replaced our old ones, and we put a huge inventory of new stuff. The thing it did at the same time was it kind of killed a lot of our mobile players because the game suddenly became too memory intensive to run on mobile devices, and that sort of not only did it hurt the player count, but it really cut off a lot of people from even playing the game. And we've been trying ever since, like in many, many different ways to improve things to make sure that those people and people in the future will not have to go through, the same sort of cutting off. Since, it doesn't benefit anyone to have less people being able to play. So.
Yeah, and on my end, nothing really major, honestly. I think usually you can. Things are they don't always come out perfect. Maybe at the time you make it, you think it's wonderful, and then after a bit, maybe either people have some complaints or you maybe second guess a little bit of what you put. But either way, we can always like make revisions of what we put. That's why we make like patches or for balancing and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I think we've put most things and updates that we're usually happy with. So yeah.
Si tuvieras que decirme un rol y un SCP que haya sido de lo más difícil de equilibrar a la hora de, bueno, literalmente equilibrar en el juego, ¿cuál sería?
Basically, if we had to name one role and one SCP that has been like super hard to balance, which would it be?
Well, let's see. You know, I don't think it's 05. I think 05 is just sort of acceptable where it's at.
Yeah.
The most recent one we had to really think about was ISD, obviously.
Yeah.
It was the most, you know, the most recent thing that we had to try and find an identity for and fit in without making it super, you know, broken. Like a big concern was like, we don't want it to completely replace IA and ROT at the same time. We want it to sort of have its own individual purpose and its kind of identity. And we really went back and forth on how to like scale it, you know, power-wise, like what weapons we'd give it, what armor we'd give it. You know, would it be able to recontain stuff, or would it be, you know, completely unable to touch SCPs at all? So I think ISD is probably the role. We had to spend a lot of the most effort on trying to, you know, make sure it fit in well. And
yeah, definitely. Also on the IC, I also think it is that also because it's like a new team. Like the other roles have been like in the game for quite a while. This one is like the brand new role, and it has like its unique gimmicks. So yeah, I'd also agree that it has taken it took quite a bit of planning to get it at a good state.
Nice.
And as for the SCP, I think, I mean, it's definitely 610. I think, even though it's not like a constant SCP on the site, in terms of like a SCP entity that can be played in the game, we had to spend a lot of time, and even now, I don't think we have a perfect balance for 610. We're still working on it in a way. Every other SCP has a good play and counterplay, so I think 610 is the only one we still sometimes have to sort of sit down and look at how people are playing with it, and also play it ourselves and see, you know, how it's faring. And like I said, even now we still don't. I don't think we still have an entirely perfect grasp on what its sort of power level and how beatable it should be.
Yeah. 610 being like its own unique thing, like not being like a testable SCP and just being an event. Also, unlike Able, that is like just one guy coming out to fight, it's like a whole thing, you know. It's like you have the mother 610, you have all the people that spawn, you have the crabs, you have the pylons to respawn, you have so many things. So yeah, that is definitely been the hardest thing to like try and balance for sure.
Una pregunta que la tenía que hacer, ya que hace como 2-3 años había salido un devlog sobre el exterior, sobre el tema de coches, etcétera. ¿Habéis planeado en retomar ese proyecto y poneros a hacer el exterior?
Yeah, I think you heard the keyword base. He said exterior, so I think you can kind of know what the question is. So basically, he's asking about the dev blog we made about the exterior a while ago, and that it had vehicles, and if we ever thought about anything regarding that.
2 or 3 years, I think. Okay, so we have added exterior now. So there is an airstrip basin connected to Mobile Task Force. It's not per se the sort of explorable large open area we were originally working on, but we've kept a constant interest in adding more exterior portions of the site that can be accessible to people. There's a plan to add one to the chaos side of things eventually. It's a bit of a little leak you just heard, bit of a never before heard info. Yeah, so exterior, but to the level it was planned as, which is this huge open spot that you can drive around in and look at different like unique SCPs that we like home crafted, like original SCPs. That's probably never going to happen because the concern has always been, what does that leave for the site? Like what happens
Yeah.
if the whole mobile task forces go out to just walk around a snowy plain?
Yeah,
And, if we want to move CI spawn to way outside as we originally planned to, how's that going to affect the travel times? Because it already takes CI like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes just to walk through vents to where they have to go. So, the concern has always been the balance and sort of keeping the game sort of concentrated around one area so people can have more interactions with each other and things we have, put a lot of effort to within the site. Unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like it's a good idea to add it to the game as a full experience. But like I said, eventually, as time goes on, we'll probably add more and more little portions of the exterior that people can get access to.
Yeah. So basically, it's a whole big thing, and if we ever consider doing it, it'd probably be like quite a lot of work and just having to integrate it into the core game. So yeah, it's not feasible to make it the way it was displayed in the devlog anymore. So yeah.
Última pregunta sobre las actualizaciones y el desarrollo que voy a hacer. O sea, realmente, o sea, por muchas partes se puede decir de que el site director está muerto. Por tema de jugabilidad, por el tema de las personas que se juegan y todo ese tema. Y de que le ha sobrepasado muchos otros rangos, por ejemplo, el IA y eso.
So basically, site director has like nothing going on for them. Do we think that might be fixed when we add their tablets or what?
Yes, for sure. We have some very interesting and fun things that site directors will be able to do. Now, just to make it clear, they will not have the same things IA or ISD does. They will not have cameras. Cameras are kind of an IA only thing now, for tablets at least, I mean. But they will have many other interesting and very unique things that we've thought about for a long time to give SID finally its sort of special place in the sort of site, that they can actually kind of do their role as it's sort of intended. And, I don't want to speak too much about it, but we have some fun mechanics that I think people are really going to like. So I'm excited to eventually show those off in the admin update.
Bueno, las últimas 3 preguntas, ya para no hacerlo tan largo. Van a ser preguntas sobre el futuro y las metas que tenéis. La primera pregunta sería, digamos, tirando lo grande, no tirando lo que ya habéis anunciado. ¿Cuál sería vuestra mayor meta que tenéis con este especial roleplay que queréis alcanzar? Lo tengáis hace mucho tiempo.
Basically, apart from what we've announced or have in our roadmap, if there is like any big goal in the future for SSRP.
Yes, there is. This is really only something we haven't really talked about much on the inside either, but I think it's a good idea, so I'm willing to share it. We sort of want to turn the game into a more universal SCP experience, if possible, where we'll maybe add, like, after server browsing, which is we'll have individual game modes you can choose and select from the main menu server list, which includes, of course, the regular site, so that'll all be around forever, but eventually we're thinking maybe of adding sort of scenarios that sort of let you explore different areas in a more in-depth and immersive kind of way without having to go through the process of playing the site and playing a role and whatnot. Like, ideally would have independent, like 3008 game or 3008 game or 106 game or maybe 096 game. And there's also a potentiality for stuff like, I don't know if you're familiar with SCP 5K, which is like a sort of more serious MTF, like shooter extractor.
From Steam, from Steam, I think. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. And, we had some sort of idea to maybe eventually add a sub-game mode to the server list where you can play these kind of things. Now, that's for the very far future, and you would have to be after we've perfected the main site as much as we possibly could.
Otra pregunta de la comunidad. Sobre el Reality Core se han quedado muchas dudas. ¿Podéis explicar un poco más de qué va a ser? Si puede llegar a ser un evento especial nuevo o si algo.
Yeah, so basically if we can explain a bit more about the reality core and if it's gonna be an event or anything in the future.
Okay. Yeah, so the reality core, it's definitely going to be an event, I think.
Yeah, yep.
We want to add functions to it to maybe have people like science department or someone similar to be able to maybe test certain things out, or have like a monitoring room where it's sort of you can do different little actions to preserve or harm the integrity of the core. Sort of like Innovation Inc. type games, I'm sure you might be familiar with, where you have a control room with a bunch of dials and knobs and you sort of mess around with the control. So eventually, again, this is probably 2-3 updates from now, maybe science updates, but probably unlikely. But in any case, there is a sort of idea to eventually make it something more, because the whole reason we added it was because we wanted to do something interesting with the sort of concept of how the site is on the brink of reality and such like that.
La última pregunta, que bueno, podéis mojaros, podéis decir, o sea, si no queréis decirlo está también bien. ¿Vuestro objetivo a futuro sería superar a este SCP Roleplay en números de jugadores?
So basically, you can answer or not, but if we have it planned for the future to maybe try and beat SCP roleplay in players.
Okay, well, you obviously can't avoid direct comparison, especially when the only difference between our game titles is site. But I think we try to kind of stick in our own little lane and not compare ourselves too much, because we're trying to achieve a different thing here. I mean, obviously, though, the goal is to gain as much players as we can and as we can sustain, while keeping the game fun and interesting and constantly sort of improving. So eventually we would like to have their sort of size, but to be frank, I don't know if we are at the point now with the game to sort of justify it or sort of demand that, since I personally think there's a lot of things we have to improve on first before we can sort of push forward and try to assert ourselves as a bigger and more universal experience a lot more people can play.
Alright. Bueno, eso ha sido todo de mi parte sobre preguntas y todo. Muchísimas gracias por responder. And to you also, Bisk, that was every question I wanted to ask, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity here. Yeah.
Oh, no problem.
It was a pleasure.
It's fun. It makes you feel important. It's a fun little thing.
Nice. Do you want to say something to the video to end it?
I wish I could speak in Spanish so I can give this like a more direct address, but
I can translate it if you want.
That's all right. I'll just come from me. It's all right.
Okay.
I would just say, thank you for inviting me to this opportunity, and also want to definitely thank everyone watching who's supporting you and also supporting the game, since without any of you guys, this would all be pretty empty and useless. So thanks to the players and community.
Nice.
Yeah, also thanks for having me as well, inviting me, even if it's at least just to translate. And well, I hope people are excited for the upcoming update, the Carnage update. I think it's gonna be very, very cool.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. Thank you very much again, and yeah, I hope we can see us in the future.